live in interesting times. Today's stories. NGOs launch legal action against France over climate. Arab League criticizes Australia's decision on Jerusalem. Scenes of devastation in Brazil after fire burns down 600 homes. President Trump accuses Facebook, Twitter, and Google of democratic bias. Veto calls for closing migrant children's detention facility. Plus, Open House New York celebrate the city's architecture, urban design, and infrastructure. Hello everyone, I am Sarah Nachman bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News of Washington, D.C. A group of NGOs, including Greenpeace and Oxfam, have launched a lawsuit against the French state, accusing it of taking insufficient action to tackle climate change. It comes after similar action was launched by farmers in Germany, and the Dutch government lost a landmark case brought by an environmental rights group on cutting greenhouse gas emissions.
The NGOs said in a joint statement on Monday, the failure of the state in the fight against climate change reflects a lack of respect in its obligation to protect the environment and the health and security of the population. The French government will have 2 months to respond to the legal action. The NGOs allege that France, where greenhouse gas emissions rose again in 2015, has not met its short-term climate objectives. President Emmanuel Macron, who has attempted to paint himself as a leader in fighting climate change since his election last year, recently backed down on anti-pollution fuel tax hikes in the face of the countrywide Yellow Vest protest. In October, the Dutch government lost an appeal against a ruling which ordered it to slash greenhouse gases by at least 25% by 2020. Environmental rights group Urgenda fought the successful case on behalf of some 900 Dutch citizens who accused the Netherlands of doing too little to prevent dangerous climate change. In Germany, dismayed farmers who have suffered damage to their crops and dairy farms as a result of record drought have also filed a lawsuit with the aid of Greenpeace against Berlin to force action. Last month, the UN's Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, or IPCC, said in a report that warming is on track toward an unlivable 3 degrees Celsius or 4 degrees Celsius rise, and avoiding global chaos will require a major transformation. A deal reached at the UN's COP24 Climate Summit earlier this month was criticized for not matching the ambition of the world's most vulnerable countries.
On a envoyé une demande préalable au Premier ministre et à un certain nombre de ministres du gouvernement. Ils ont 2 mois maintenant pour nous répondre sur ces demandes-là, qui passent par un développement des énergies renouvelables, une réduction des émissions de CO2, une politique des transports différente, un modèle agricole différent. Donc il y a tout un tas de demandes qui sont faites. Si au bout de 2 mois on n'est pas satisfait, on peut déposer un recours au tribunal administratif, et le tribunal administratif pourra constater, on l'espère, une carence fautive de l'État, c'est-à-dire le fait que l'État n'a pas pris la mesure de sa responsabilité, n'a pas fait tout ce qu'il faut pour protéger aujourd'hui les populations qui sont déjà victimes du dérèglement climatique en France et ailleurs.
C'est-à-dire que le juge peut tout à fait imposer à l'État d'agir, par exemple sur la rénovation des logements, par exemple sur le développement des transports ferroviaires, par exemple sur l'agriculture, pour pouvoir enfin tenir les objectifs. Et en fait, c'est possible. L'État a de nombreux moyens d'action, mais il faudrait qu'il mobilise les outils fiscaux, réglementaires, les investissements nécessaires, et en fait, on peut le faire.
The Arab League condemns Australia's decision to recognize West Jerusalem as Israel's capital during a meeting in Cairo, saying the decision is voided and has no legal effect. The Arab League also condemns new Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's decision to move the country's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
إن قرار حكومة أستراليا بنقل سفارتها إلى القدس وإعلان الرئيس البرازيلي لنيته نقل سفارة بلاده حال تسلمه مقاليد الحكم إلى القدس من تل أبيب قرارات مدانة باطلة لا أثر قانوني لها ولن تؤدي.
في هذا الإطار السيد الرئيس تعلن مصر رفضها الكامل لقيام أي دولة باتخاذ موقف أحادي يتصل بالقدس ويخالف قرارات الأمم المتحدة والشرعية الدولية وأحكام محكمة العدل الدولية.
إننا ندين بأقوى العبارات الهجمة الشرسة والحملة الإجرامية المنظمة وعمليات القتل الممنهجة التي تقوم بها قوات الاحتلال والمستوطنين المتطرفين ضد أهلنا في القرى والمدن والمخيمات في فلسطين وندعو المجتمع.
A huge fire blazed through 600 wooden homes built on stilts next to a river in Brazil's Amazon region overnight, decimating a poor area of the city of Manaus, but causing no deaths, authorities said Tuesday.
Deputy Chief of the local emergency service, Hermogenes Rebelo, said it's perhaps the biggest city fire in the history of Manaus. The Security Secretariat for Amazonas State said the inferno started late Monday and was only brought under control shortly after midnight after a 3-hour struggle by more than 100 firefighters. 4 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. The fire happened in Educandos, an impoverished and densely populated district near the center of Manaus that sits on the Rio Negro, a river that joins up with the Amazon River to flow out to the Atlantic Ocean. Narrow alleyways in the district hampered access for fire services, and tow trucks had been used to haul vehicles out of the way. Authorities said an initial investigation suggests a pressure cooker on a stove started the fire, which rapidly spread, fanned by strong gusts of wind at the time.
Up next, President Trump accuses Facebook, Twitter, and Google of Democrat bias. Beto calls for closing migrant children's detention facility. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return in a moment.
Hi guys, I'm Ariel.
And I'm Kenneth. And we're your new hosts for The Break Room.
So please watch us every Monday at 7:30 to 8 in the evening. We are one with 25. I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent from Vancouver, Canada, and I am standing here in front of the Olympic Cauldron located in downtown Vancouver. Did you know that the 2010 Winter Olympic was hosted in Vancouver? Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I am Lou Aquino, and I am one with 25.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Washington, D.C. U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday accused tech giant Facebook, Twitter, and Google of being biased in favor of opposition Democrats, a day after a report for the Senate revealed Russian agents had used social media in an attempt to sway the 2016 election in Trump's favor.
Trump tweeted, Facebook, Twitter, and Google are so biased toward the Dems, it is ridiculous. Twitter, in fact, has made it much more difficult for people to join @real Donald Trump. They have removed many names and greatly slowed the level of speed of increase. They have acknowledged, done nothing. An analysis for the Senate Intelligence Committee released Monday described an organized campaign by the St. Petersburg-based Internet Research Agency, IRA, to hurt Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee, by inflaming right-wing conspiracy theories and suppressing the vote of traditionally liberal groups such as African Americans. The IRA-created account Blacktivists sent out messages such as "No lives matter to Hillary Clinton, only votes matter to Hillary Clinton." Separately, a portion of the 3,841 IRA accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube studied by the researchers sought to provoke Republican-leaning white Americans to get out and vote. Marketing software firm SparkToro revealed in October that its analysis of Trump's 55 million plus followers had revealed that more than 60% were fake. Around 3/4 of the account that followed Trump had been inactive for at least 120 days, while 36% used Twitter's default profile image.
U.S. Democrat Beto O'Rourke, along with rights organizations, protest to call for the closure of a migrant children's detention facility in Tornillo, Texas, saying that families are waiting to take care of children who have been detained.
This facility is open because this administration has decided that those family members who could sponsor these kids and have them in their homes right now and be taking care of them and help those kids be well and get back on their feet are going through onerous background checks, which have produced 170 apprehensions. 109 of those apprehensions had no criminal background whatsoever. There are thousands of kids who are ready to go with sponsors that they have already identified. So the public pressure that you brought to bear after Father's Day that ended the practice of family separation, we need that same pressure again brought to bear in this administration to close down Tornillo. So thank you all for being here. Yeah.
According to government and World Bank figures, nearly 60% of Guatemala's 17 million people live under the poverty line. That rate is higher in indigenous communities, like the remote village in the municipality of Raroja, some 145 kilometers or 90 miles north of the capital, Guatemala City.
Open House New York celebrates the city's architecture, urban design, and infrastructure. That's next. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
Hey guys, I'm here today in my home state, Jersey City, New Jersey. Make sure you tune into Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I'm Ace and I am 1 with 25.
Ang Dumaguete sa Negros Oriental na tinaguriang The City of Gentle People ay meron na namang bagong titulo, ang Top Retirement Spot for Foreigners sa bansa. Sa Retiring Friendly o Radar Index, nakatugon ang Dumaguete City sa global standards na itinakda ng mga organisasyon gaya ng United Nations, World Health Organization at International Living. Bukod sa friendly ang mga tao, may sapat at mapupuntahang lugar at ligtas na pampublikong pasyalan ang Dumaguete. Para sa mga kaganapan sa iba't ibang lalawigan, laging tumutok sa Agila Probinsya, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 11:30 hanggang alas 12 ng tanghali at alas 5:30 hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Dito lamang sa Net 25.
Eagle News, Washington, D.C., I am Sarah Nachman. Open House New York, through its programs and during its annual OHNY weekend, advocates an open and inclusive city by celebrating its architecture and urban design. Our very own Joanna Blanco Soriano with the story.
For one weekend every October, Open House New York has been giving New Yorkers access to residences, facilities, and cultural spaces to appreciate architecture and design.
We're the smallest museum in New York, and we focus in object journalism. So we take different objects that people use every day in their lives from all around the world that interest us, that make us curious, and that tell stories. And then we use this as a way to tell those stories. So we're always looking for unconventional places, unconventional objects, to be able to bring all that together and show them off. So we're in Cortlandt Alley in Tribeca, Chinatown border area. And so we have some studio space in a building here, and there's a freight elevator in the back that was out of commission. We saw the space and thought, how can we use this in a new way to show off something, to tell stories in a new way?
I've always been a fan of Open House New York. This is a gallery one can come visit, but it's still important, I think, to be included in Open House New York as a venue which you learn a little bit more. You see it through the lens of architecture. Not only art lovers are coming today, but architecture lovers and people just that are curious about the city. This building, cast iron building from the late 1800s, one of the things as a firm, Bates Stogber Cox, that we feel is critical to our approach to architecture is respecting and drawing upon the history of a place. So obviously the cast iron architecture is expressed through the columns, through the height of the space. It was important for us to maintain the window wall as a kind of window into the gallery from the street. It's been nice to spend a day in the gallery and you kind of see the life of New York City passing in front of you, but at the same time you're in a kind of rarefied environment.
One of the amazing stops of Open House New York is the atrium of the Brooklyn Army Terminal.
So we're inside the atrium of Building B of the Brooklyn Army Terminal. So the Brooklyn Army Terminal was built between 1918 and 1919 as America was ramping up our involvement in World War I. It was completed after World War I ended, but it did play a major role as a military base in World War II and through the 1950s and 60s. So today the building is owned by the City of New York. It's run by the New York City Economic Development Corporation, and this is an industrial park. We're home to close to 100 companies, and nearly 4,000 people come to work here every day. So this is one of the biggest centers of industrial and manufacturing employment in New York City. This is the 6th year that we've hosted tours here at the Brooklyn Army Terminal, and we always get well over 100 people on each tour. It's really fantastic. Just the enthusiasm that people have. They're so curious because this is such a unique space. When you look at it, you can't really tell what it is. And so it's so great for us to be able to share the history, the design, the architecture, what this was used for, and how it's still being used today.
Even with all the well-known attractions New York City has to offer, Open House New York gives an even deeper look at the architecture and history of the city. Reporting from Brooklyn Army Terminal in New York, this is Joanne Blanco Soriano, 1 with 25.
Joanne looks like a kid in a candy store in that one shot. And she said going to Open House New York is one of her favorite things to do. And we can tell. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us again tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.ph and also eaglenewsalive.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Eagle News PH. On behalf of Eagle News Washington, D.C., thank you for watching. See you soon. I am Sarah Ackman, and I am 1 with 25.
Know the latest news and information here and abroad. In Aguila Balita, track the latest happenings in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Be aware of important events in Asia, in ASEAN in Focus, and be updated in the biggest news around the world in Eagle News International. Tune into Mata ng Aguila and get the day's headlines and news that are sharp, accurate, and